I'm talking to Peter Creswell, composer and producer of concerts and shows like the Oratorio before Pilate, the record director of Redgrave Hall, the Midsummer Hare, as well as cantatas for Christmas and Easter, full-scale masses, and the Mass in G minor sung by the Redgrave singers. Now with Oratorio David, which has been first performed in 2008 in Redgrave Church and then in 2009 in St. Mary's Church in Bury St. Edmunds, will be performed in a charity concert in aid of the Household Cavalry Foundation on Saturday, November 22nd this year. What made you want to write this work, and how did you assemble all these musicians, Peter?
Well, having written the Mass in C, I had a feeling that I could attempt a major oratorio, and I've always thought that the subject of David was just about the best story you're ever going to find from the point of view of drama, because it contains all the thrilling elements of theatre and drama. And in the end, having done David and performed it, I really think it should be an opera, actually, rather than an oratorio now. You say, what made me want to do it?
Yeah.
I just cannot answer that question. You, as an artist, you sometimes feel, I can write an oratorio, do it. And when you've started it, the whole thing begins to get wings and takes off. And so I got hold of this wonderful book by Duff Cooper on David, which he wrote in 1942. He was in the Winston Churchill government in the Second World War. It's a wonderful book. And then, of course, the various books in the Bible, which deal with chronicles and kings and all that sort of thing. And I found that story more and more thrilling and more exciting as I wrote it.
Actually, when I went through your recording, I thought it could be an opera, because there's so many dialogue and scenes
Definitely
in it.
Wants to be an opera. And this third performance that we're going to do of David was rewritten and re-edited to be an opera, but unfortunately expenses and everything and problems arose so that it wasn't possible to do it. But it's what might be called a dramatic oratorio, and I've told the soloists that it's no good just holding your books like this in some of these things. You've simply got to give it more welly, and from the point of view of the audience.
So what made you decide to repeat David this year, and what can we look forward to?
Well, it was done in 2008 and 2009, first of all in Redgrave Church and then in Bury St. Edmunds. Why did I want to do it? Because I saw this article in the Household Cavalry Journal asking if anybody would like to do anything to raise money for the Household Cavalry Foundation. And the reason the Household Cavalry is selected is because my father was in it in the Second World War. It's a regiment in the British Army, you see.
Yeah.
And then I was in it for 7 years in the early 60s, and it's rather like a family. It becomes so much a part of your life that it is actually a part of you, really, and will remain with you till you die. So when I read this article in the Household Cavalry Journal, I thought, well, I could put a concert on. So I actually booked the Guards Chapel in London to do it there, and as an opera, or a semi-staged opera, and went a long way to doing it there, but that fell apart because I couldn't actually really control what was going on in London, which was very little. And I thought, you're actually too ambitious here. It's simply not going to come off. And so you better choose your own ground again. And so I selected the best church possible for this, which is in Diss, which is about 5 miles away from here. Everything's right there. Lovely box pews, 300 seats, a lovely organ space for the orchestra in the front. Everything was right with this, and I was extremely grateful to the vicar who allowed me to have November the 22nd, which happens to be St. Cecilia's Day, as it happens, the patron saint of music and the birth date of Benjamin Britten. But that's neither here nor there. My music is just about as far as from Benjamin Britten as you could ever expect.
So can you give us some examples what people are going to hear? Like a little survey of the story for those people who are not so familiar with it?
Well, you see, this is such a massive opus, quite honestly.
Yeah.
It's on the scale of something like creation, or it's a major work, so it's very difficult to really
It's
tell
over
you
2 hours
what
long.
I can tell you is the story is so thrilling. I mean, I'm going to start off with an overture playing when people come into the church, so that it's happy, and there's lots of very exciting, happy music in David. So when people come and are chatting away and talking, there'll be lovely organ music going on, which is a potpourri of some of the songs and tunes from David. And then it goes into the a short overture from the orchestra, and then we get into and the Lord said unto Samuel, fill thine horn with oil, go to Jesse in Bethlehem, for I provided me a king among his sons, a king among his sons. Samuel did what the Lord said and came to Bethlehem. And the Lord said, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, for the Lord seeth not as a man seeth, for a man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. These wonderful words from the authorized version of the Bible cannot be beaten, and it's very sad that people try and modernize them, because they are so full of imagery and give a much richer picture. So what happens is that Samuel selects, with the help of the Lord, the future king of Israel, who, of course, as we all know, who know the story, is not one of the 7 sons paraded in front of him. He's the one out in the fields tending the sheep. And so we have all sorts of things happen there. And item number 4, there remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep. He keepeth the sheep. That's a tenor aria with chorus. And then we've got, fetch him and bring him. We will not sit down until he come hither. These are not my words, they're straight from the Bible. We will not sit down. It's lovely stuff. We're getting worked up. And then, arise, anoint him, for this is he. And then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. How marvellous. So that is how it all starts.
Yeah.
That could be the end of section 1. I don't know whether you want to hear any of that music.
Yeah, of course, sure. Because people should really...
Let's have a look at them, and a little bit of He Keepeth There Remaineth Yet the Youngest.
Because I went through the stuff that you've given me, and it was just wonderful, and people should really know what kind of magic is coming to them.
Pastoral piece, that particular one. And then we got fetch him and bring him, we will not sit down, is a Samuel sings. Macho sort of, quite cross. Fetch him and bring him in. We want to see him. Do you want me to go on to a bit more about?
Yeah, sure. Just
that's all over.
I mean, the one is when the only thing that I know about David and Goliath is like that he was hit by the stone in the end. That's the only thing I remember from my childhood.
Well, I mean that's
and the rest I was not really aware
that's
of.
That's going to be a very big episode, the Goliath episode. But we've just finished where he's selected to be the king. Arise, anoint him, for this is he. This is the one. He's going to be the king of Israel. Then we finished that section 1. Now we go to Saul. And Saul is really big in this. Handel wrote an oratorio involving Saul, not David so much. And it finishes in the death of Saul on Mount Gilboa. But anyway, Saul dominates the first half of David because of his relationship with David. And then he is killed and it's over. David becomes the king of Israel, and the second half of my oratorio, the whole meat of it is his love affair with Bathsheba and all the problems that brings and the happiness it brings as well. But in the first half we've got Saul. Now both David and Saul were very disturbed, especially Saul, who seemed to go off the rails altogether through jealousy. And David in the second half virtually starts going off the rails because he has committed or arranged for a murder to take place, and he's so full of remorse, and the punishment from God comes upon him, and he's in big trouble as well. So we've got the story of two men with big problems. But Saul, when we start off with Saul, we've got a rousing chorus. Now Saul was the king of Israel, but the Spirit of the Lord departed from him. And an evil spirit bothered him, and he was sore distressed. And he was sore distressed. He got problems. That's the lyric of that chorus. And I don't really want to play too much of this. More and more steamed up and worked up, and gets quite frantic as the evil spirit sort of takes over. And Saul said to his servant, "Provide me with a man that can play the harp, and bring him to me." And then answered one of his servants, behold I've seen the son of Jesse, that is a cunning player of the harp. And then we got the harp doing the sort of thing. That's Saul and the servant, and telling him about this harpist he knows. And we have some excuses for the harp to do some lovely arpeggios. And David came to Saul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly. These are little bits of recit. My recit is being done with a harp, a cello and a piano, and very quiet strings some of the time. I'm not going to attempt to sing it. It's done by a top professional tenor, but I'll play it. And David came to Saul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly. And when the evil spirit came upon Saul, then David took his harp and played to him. And what does he play? He plays "The Lord's my shepherd," Psalm 23. soprano, who's David is still a teenager, you see. This young boy playing the harp, and that is a beautiful soprano, Selina Hawker from Wyndham, will be singing that with the chorus, The Lord's My Shepherd. So we're into the harp business, and then the next part of David is There Came Out a Champion, which is the Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether I'm just talking to you, but take hours if I go all the way through this.
I know, especially because the work is very long. And but do you think we would give too much away? Like I said, I'm only familiar with the actually battle between Goliath and David. But
Yeah.
Do you think we should have the audience looking forward to how you put that into music, or just give a little
Okay, well, first
teaser
of all,
for
I've got
that?
something of There Went Out a Champion, there went out a champion, out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath. It's all in chorus now. And he comes on and he says, "Give me a man that we may fight together. Give me a man who will face my terror. Where is the man for this brave endeavour? Choose you a man for you." Now I've got a bit of license now because I couldn't find sufficient words in the Bible to express what I wanted to say. So with the help of somebody else called Jennifer Hughes, who helped me with some of these lyrics, we got a great tune for him. Lightning will flash before I smite thee, choose you a man for you. Let me go back to where that should start. It goes like this. Very sort of marching stuff. It's Goliath showing off. And then give me a man, give me a man. Give me a man, we'll fight together. Show him face his terror. Where is the man for this brave endeavour? Choose you a man for you. Lightning will flash before I smite thee. Choose you a man for you, etc. And when Saul and all Israel heard those words, they were greatly afraid. And David came to Saul. And now we have a big duet with chorus. Who is this Philistine? Who is this Philistine? That he should defy the armies of the living God. David then says, I will fight, I will fight. Saul says, you are but a youth, you are but a youth. This is from the Bible. And he says, I slew a lion and a bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be like one of these. Lovely words for a great chorus, which I don't think I'm going to try and play, but I won't play it very well, but I'll play a little bit of audio. It's too difficult because there's an awful lot of things going on with the chorus in that. And then Saul comes round to this youth, and he sings this lovely thing, go and the Lord be with you, have a go. And he sings, sorry, that's wrong note. Soprano's big guitar. Go in the name of the Lord. And David chose 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in his shepherd's bag, and his sling was in his hand. And when Goliath saw David, he disdained him. That's all sung by the chorus. And then Goliath sings from one side of the mountain, David on the other side. He shouts out to David, "Am I a dog that thou come to threaten me with sticks?" That is not in the original versions. I was told to improve the lyrics on this. So we've got more lyrics. And then we've got, "Come, come, come to me, and I will give thy flesh to the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field." And then we got... And then David replies, "I come in the name of the Lord. I will smite thee. I'll take thy head from thee. And all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel." All the earth may know. All the earth may know. Imagine that with a soprano, which is what happens. And all the chorus come in. I'm not going to go on. Big chorus set. And you can hear perhaps some of it may be brought in this interview in the background.
It definitely will, because I think that is so catchy, and it's just, I just love it.
Thank you very much. Now, after David has said, "All the earth may know there's a God in Israel, and I'll take thy head from thee," we have a march from the orchestra, which is quite a catchy tune, which is sort of military. That sort of thing. And then we've got Goliath singing, "Come, come, come to me," taunting him. "I will give thy flesh to the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field." And this becomes a duet, and David on the other side of the mountain sings, "I come in the name of the Lord." "I will take thy head from thee, thy head from thee." And then he sings. So they are cross purposes, and they start singing together. One's going to give his flesh to the fowls of the air, the other's going to take his head off. And so they sing. And then David put his hand in his bag, this is a recit now, "and took thence a stone and slang it, and it smote the Philistine on the forehead. And the stone sunk in, and he fell down on his face to the ground." Well, in an opera, that'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
I think the way you do it on your own is perfect. I think if you would do that oratory by yourself for 2 hours, it would be absolutely fantastic.
David ran and stood upon him. This is straight from the Bible. David ran and stood upon him and slew him. And he cut off his head. Got the head and he holds it up. And when the Philistines saw their champion was conquered, they took flight and fled. So then in my oratorio, I see I've got an organ solo here to cover a little bit of business, if it is an opera. "And the people said, Saul has slain his thousands, David has slain his 10,000s. I fished out, I did this entirely independently without referring to Handel or anything, but I was interested when I looked at Saul. When I first wrote this, it's just, Handel also picked that out to do. And I think Handel's one's not all that great, actually. But the one that I've got here is far better. And the people said, Saul has slain his thousands. And it's really exciting the way I've done that. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him, and he eyed David. I love that expression. It's like a dog looking at you, isn't it? He eyed David from that day forward. You know exactly what is going on in Saul's mind. Jealousy rearing its ugly head because David has slain his 10,000s in public. Adore him. And he sings this aria, what more can he have than my throne? What more can he take than my kingdom? Here's a bit of this one. Sorry, start on the right note. Very cross, and then he comes full of confusion. He says, I fear this man. My confusion is ever before me. I fear him, bring him hither, that he shall play to me. But in his hand he held a javelin, and this is one of his first attempts to kill David, which we read about in the Bible. And this sort of thing was all read to us when we were at school. These wonderful stories. From now onwards he's going to try and kill David because he's so jealous of him. And anyway, Saul calls in this youth to play to him, and he sings to him, and he sings actually one of the Psalms which were written by David. We know that, I believe, I don't know how many, at least half the Psalms seem to be written by David. God is our refuge, God is our strength, the very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, we will not fear. This is sung this time by an alto, because David's getting a bit older. And at the end of that, the javelin is hurled, and it misses him. And he says, what is this? You tried to kill me. And Saul says, get out of my sight, take your harp, go, get out. Get out of my sight. No more music, no more music, no more music. Take your harp. And the singer, Saul, has a cadenza. Almost blows his top with anger. Take your harp and get out of my sight. So that's a big chorus. And Saul spoke to Jonathan and all his servants that they must destroy David. But the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David. Isn't that beautiful? For he loved him as much as his own soul. And David said to Jonathan, what have I done? What is my sin before thy father, that he seeketh to take my life? And that's David and chorus. And then a very big aria is done by Jonathan called Fear not the hand of Saul my father, he shall not find thee. Fear not the hand, but escape, get out. This is a bit of it. And then the escapes escape and hide, and then she has to sing lots of top Bs. And when we did it in 2008, she sang a top E flat on the last note, which is a colossal note. That note.
Yeah.
She sang. She was a 19-year-old girl who sang that.
Oh, really?
She's now about 24 or something. I couldn't get her to do it this time. She's too busy with show business in London doing things. But and the girl who's going to sing this time also has a very high voice. Maybe she'll attempt to do that, but it doesn't matter. She can sing it another note or a bit lower. And then just to finish off Act 1, Saul is in a terrible state, and he tries to find a witch, a sort of fortune teller, to help him, to tell him what to do. And she's called the Witch of Endor. So it's all smoke and mirrors and things, and he seeks her out. So I've got some mysterious music for this. Saul says, "O thou witch, divine unto me, divine unto me." And the witch says, "What should I divine unto thee? Bring me up, who I shall name unto thee." She says, "Give me a name, the name of him you desire to see." He says, "Bring me up Samuel." She does bring up Samuel, comes out of his coffin. Wouldn't it be great in an opera, this horrible withered old body comes out, and he says, "Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up?" Come out of the grave. Why have you disquieted me? Why have you woken me up? I don't want to come back to the earth. And Saul says, "I'm so distressed. God has departed from me. What shall I do, O Samuel? Answer me, answer me, answer me. Answer me." And Samuel says, "Thou obeyest not the voice of the Lord." And all the chorus. "The Lord will give thy kingdom. The Lord will give thy kingdom to David." Up says, "Tomorrow in battle you and your sons will die." And then the Philistines fought against Israel on Mount Gilboa, and Saul and his 3 sons died. Philistines came to strip the slain. They found Saul and his 3 sons fallen. And then we have this great lament to finish Act 1, which is, of course, "How are the mighty fallen? The beauty of Israel is slain upon thy high places. How are the mighty fallen?" And then this tenor, David is now going to be a tenor. He's now a young man. "Tell it not in Gath, publish it not in the streets of Ascalon." These are the cities of the Philistines. "Lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice over this. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, bow of Jonathan turned not back, and the sword of Saul returned not empty. Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives, and in their death they were not divided. These are very famous words from the Bible. They were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. How are the mighty fallen in the midst of the battle, I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women. How are the mighty fallen, and the weapons of war perished. And that concludes Act 1 of the Oratorio, David.